Please be seated, says the President. The court is now back in session. I notice the prosecution is on his feet. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I need to take the opportunity to make a statement about the conduct of parties before this court. Your Honours, under Rule 22.4, lawyers have an obligation to promote the fair and effective conduct of the hearings. I can't let the outburst of the Defence Counsel for Yang Sari pass. The tone, the manner, the accusations towards the witness were completely in contravention to Your Honour's rulings. I understand Counsel's frustration as rules develop, but I just would ask that all parties abide by general standards of fair conduct of the proceedings. I think, Your Honours, if all parties had outbursts like we saw from the Yang Sari defence team, this hearing would result in a real disarray and it would take away from the integrity of the proceedings. Again, I understand the frustration. I certainly don't want to say the colour should be removed from the courtroom, and certainly counsel for Yang Sari, a highly competent counsel, but I would not like the public to feel that type of outburst, those types of accusations were appropriate for a courtroom. So I just would ask Your Honours to advise parties, all parties, to abide by the rules of etiquette and proper practice in the courtroom. I'm not going to repeat what was said, but I just would ask that occur. Thank
you. Defence Counsel, you may proceed.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was not standing up to respond to the co-prosecutor. I wanted to continue my questioning. May I do so?
President, of course, but before we hand over the floor to you, I'd like to give the floor to Judge Lavange.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Président. Je vais m'efforcer.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'll try and hand the floor over to Counsel Werken as soon as possible, but just to be absolutely sure that everybody understands the thrust behind the questions that are being put to him this morning, I would like just to proceed to a brief clarification. Mr. Witness, this morning, you stated that you had an opportunity to talk about a certain number of issues with Pong connected with the Standing Committee, and that this conversation took place before Pong's arrest. In other words, a conversation that didn't take place in S21. And now, before we broke for the adjournment, the Kyosampan defence confronted you with one of your statements, which you made before the investigating judge of the military court on the 9th of June 1999, and I will simply read one statement from that, where you are asked, did you ever personally interrogate prisoners who, and you said, at times I went to converse with people that have been interrogated, such as Tuk Bun, Chim Sak Ok, alias Pong, Chu Chet, alias C, and Won Wet. And then you go on to explain that On other occasions you went straight into questioning, but there it was different. But here we're talking about conversations with people who had already been interrogated. And if you read that sentence, it's after they had been interrogated in S21. Now, if we align your statements and that sentence, then there does appear to be a contradiction. Because if you had a conversation with them after they've been interrogated, it must have been in S21. So please, can you tell us why there is this discrepancy, or if, in your view, there isn't any contradiction at all? Thank you.
Response. Your Honor, regarding this matter, it seems there is a contradiction. In fact, there is none. I already informed the chamber here that the record of interview at the military court was in a summarized form. Meaning they summarize the 4 individuals with a single verb, a single adjective, and a single adverb. If a particular individual needs to be put to my question in order to respond to this statement, of course I cannot accept that. I stand by this document, provided that this is recognized as a summarized statement. All the 4 individuals were distinct.
Monsieur le témoin, je vais relire.
Well, witness, I'm going to read this sentence again and just tell us, yes or no, if it was a sentence that you actually said, if this does mirror what you said, the investigating judge. I read, at times I went to converse with people that had been interrogated, such as Tukbun, Chim Sam, Hok, alias Pom, Chuchet, alias Si, and Von Vet. Now, did you say this? Or are you telling us that it hasn't caught the nuances of what you actually said?
Response, Your Honor. This is not based on the recollection, but that is the truth. I made Tokbun after he was interrogated. Chuchet alias C, I also met him after he was interrogated. As for Von Vet and Chim Sam Auk alias Pong, Pong himself, I had met him before his arrest. And once he was immediately arrested, he blamed me, but I did not want to touch on that matter. As for Von Vet, I already stated that I met him before he was interrogated. So those were the events. To sum up, I met 2 of them after they were interrogated, and I had met 2 of them before they were interrogated.
Monsieur le témoin.
Witness, let me get a first clarification. As I understood it in my translation, you said that Bong incriminated you in his confession. Is that what you are telling us?
Bong response. Bong himself was implicated before the 17th April 77.
ខុសហើយ15សីហា15សីហា1977ត្រូវបានគេឆ្លើយដាក់មុនថ្ងៃ15សីហា1977
That was before the 15th August 77.
Pourriez-vous
Would you kindly look at the last page of the military court summary from 1999, the final page, please.
Monsieur le Président, m'autorisez-vous à projeter
Can I have this on the screen, Mr. President, please?
Yes, you may do so, says the President.
Voilà le passage dont je souhaiterais vous donner lecture.
This is the excerpt right at the end of your statement in 1999, where it says the written record was completed at 16:45 hours on the same date, and the content was read out to the respondent who then agreed to thumbprint it as evidence along with us below. You then see the signatures of the four lawyers present, your lawyer, yourself, the registrar, and the investigating judge. My question is as follows. The investigating judge and the registrar say that you were read your statement, and we know that you are a specialist when it comes to anything concerning interrogating people. And is your statement before us today essentially to say that you let a mistake that crops up several times in your statement pass through your fingers without correcting it?
Response. The language which I explained regarding this statement, that it is a summary, and of course it should be acceptable to ordinary people to absorb it, to understand it, and to accept it. At that time, that's what I said, and that's what it was summarized. And of course, that was my thumbprint. I believe this is not something which is going to incriminate me. For that reason, I provided my thumbprint there.
ដូច្នេះសរុបមកវិញខ្ញុំនៅតែរក្សាគោលជំហរ
So to sum up, I acknowledge that I provided my thumbprint and I stand by the statement and I allowed them to summarize the statement.
Comprenez-vous, monsieur,
Witness, do you understand that the contents of these minutes of the 9th of June 1999, which you tell us you signed without needing to check it because the statements that should have been there were not incriminating? Are you aware that this record acquires accrued importance when you look at it on the basis of the transcriptions of the recordings of the interviews you actually had with the Office of the High Commission for Refugees the very same year as this military court record, and in which you also say that you talked with Bong while he was detained in S21. What's your comment on that?
Response. Before the investigating judge at the military court made that summary, I was asked many questions regarding many events, and that's how it was summarized at the time. At that time, myself and the investigating judge did not have this statement before us yet. The investigating judge and myself did not have the record by the UNHCR. And we did not see the original voice recording by that organization.
សូមលោកមេធាវីមេត្តាខំបញ្ចប់ឃ្លាខ្ញុំសិនបញ្ចប់បានទេខ្ញុំបញ្ចប់បានទេខ្ញុំសូមបញ្ចប់ឃ្លា
May I conclude my response first? As for the statement dated 4 through 6 of May, I already made my stance clear regarding those records. And the co-prosecutors also stated that they were simply just the records. As for my interview with UNHCR, which was conducted on the 30th, the 1st, the 2nd, and concluded on the 3rd. And I already rejected that record. As for the record as for the statement by the investigating judge at the military court, I stand by that statement.
Witness. I understand. This morning, You told the chamber that at the time when you had your talk with Bong, you weren't afraid of being arrested. You remember saying that?
Response. The conversation between Bong and myself were the conversation between the leader and the one who was led. So let me repeat, the conversation was between the leader and with the one who was led.
On the 2nd of April 2008, you were questioned before the ECCC investigating judge. This is D86/24. And I'm preparing a copy for the witness, and I would like the President to allow me to have this excerpt put on the screen.
Okay. President, court officer, could you take the document from the counsel and deliver it to the witness?
J'ai signalé le passage, monsieur le témoin, par un onglet.
We have highlighted the section witness so you can see where it is on the hard copy, and you were assisted by your lawyer on this particular occasion, and this is what you say. Question by the co-investigating judge: why do you keep a non-expurgated version, and at the same time, when it appears that one name has been removed? Answer: it is only in the case of those who were provisionally considered innocent, but who sooner or later would be arrested. For those who were protected, I destroyed the confession. That is in fact what happened when I was criticized by Son Sen for having allowed a confession to show Bong's name, who was chairman of the 870 Committee Working Group, and Pol Pot's messenger to me. Sometime later, he actually blamed me in reverse. I had removed the name of Bong when he was hoping to see it. And then your lawyer, François Roux, asks you a question. Given the conflicting orders you received from different people, and given the fact that your predecessor had been executed at S21, did you not fear that your term would come eventually? And the charged person answers as follows: I've already explained that each time I was summoned by the superiors, I was terrified, and so was my wife. I was more and more scared. My suggestion to you, witness, is that what you say here is in contradiction to what you have said under oath before the court this morning. In one case, you say that you were terrified, and in the other, you claim not to have been terrified at all. It seems to be a contradiction. Kindly explain.
ជំរាបប្រសាសន៍លោកប្រធាន
Response. There was no difference or there was no contradiction. The meeting with the superior I had to be open and honest. However, in general, there were several events that made myself fearful. The time that I became so terrified when the party, that is Brother Nuon Chia, ordered the arrest of Ngai Jiu alias Hong So Chia, for instance. So I was terrified like the rest for the general situation. As for my conversation with my superior, I was not scared. I had to report to my superior.
Do you remember when, and please forgive me for my pronunciation, when Get You alias Hong was arrested?
Response. The three individuals were arrested after the 15th August 1977.
Do you remember if Tam Mok had complained about Chu Chet?
Response. Actually, Tamok did not like Chuchet. That was my observation.
Do you remember the statement that you made to the investigating judge on 2 April 2008? And this is written record D86 again, /24. So this was an interview on 2 April 2008 on page 4, ERN in French, 00195948. English 001-78061. Khmer 001-78048. And you say that before Chu Chet's arrest, all of his subordinates had been arrested pursuant to the Ho Chi Minh Doctrine, which you even qualified as saying that it consisted in, before cutting the bamboos, it was necessary to shave off the thorns. So do you remember this statement?
Confirmé.
And can you confirm having said it?
Response. I do remember. And I stand by this statement.
I suggest to you, witness, that this detail that you have given to us shows to us that Chu Chet's arrest seemed to be the result of a plan that had been thought of for a while. Do you agree with what I'm saying?
Response. I do not quite catch with the language. I think that the language should be simplified because I cannot really understand.
You said that before Ankar arrested Chu Chet, all of his subordinates had also been arrested, and you specified that this chronology of events, first the subordinates and then Chu Chet himself, corresponded to the application of a doctrine, the Ho Chi Minh Doctrine, which states that before cutting the bamboos you have to shave off the thorns. So therefore, I'm putting the question to you, if you understand the statement as meaning that Chu Chet's arrest was the result of a plan that consisted first in shaving off the thorns, quote unquote, and then cutting the bamboos.
Response. The content of my explanation to the co-investigating judges back then was exactly as what is being described. I clarify it again. I did explain the co-investigating judges the truth and nothing but the truth. Of course, before the arrest of Chu Chet, his subordinate had been arrested. I still recollect when I provided that statement to the co-investigating judges, I even cited 2 examples for him.
Alors,
so then why do you believe Pol Pot was obliged to replace at the last moment Von Vet by Khieu Samphan, if this was only a plan that had already been decided since long.
Response. I think I have never told the co-investigating judges that Pol Pot decided that Khieu Samphan be replaced by Von Wet. Never have I told them that. I merely told the co-investigating judges that Brother Khieu Samphan took or designated Nuon Chia's brother-in-law to the Industrial Hospital 75 to replace Von Wet's wife. Correction, Nuon Chia's sister-in-law, not brother-in-law.
Did you say to the investigating judge of the ECCC that Khieu Samphan had participated in the decision-making process of arresting Chu Chet?
Response. This is the same issue. I learned it from Pang. That Brother Haim came in Then Bong Ham was invited by Pol Pot to take part.
Participer, pourquoi faire?
To participate in order to do what?
Response. That was again the same issue. It was to discuss in the standing committee on the arrest of Chu Chet.
Do you remember having said to the investigating judge that, in fact, Khieu Samphan had been summoned instead of Von Wet only to be informed of the purging procedures?
I do not recollect that. I don't know.
Well, for the record, this is D90, page 6. This is the interview of 25 June 2008 on page 5. 5 and 6, ERN, French 00198811, English 0019883 0019883 Khmer 0019885.
The President, the International Co-Prosecutor, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honour. If there are any further questions on this topic, I would just ask the witness be shown that particular part of the statement, if it's required to refresh his memory.
Je peux lui montrer, mais je ne comptais pas poursuivre sur cette ligne.
Show him the document, but I was not intending to continue with this line of questioning, but if it's necessary, of course, that won't be a problem.
The President, court officer, please take the document from the counsel and present it to the witness.
Vous l'avez lu, monsieur?
Have you read it, witness?
Response. Mr. President, I do not know as to which part of this document the defense counsel is referring to and expect my answer. Thank you.
Le passage surligné est indiqué par un...
The passage that is underlined and that is indicated with a tab.
En page 6.
It's on page 6.
Si vous m'y autorisez, Monsieur le Président, je...
If you please allow me, Mr. President, I can display it on the screen.
The chamber grants that, and it has been a practice before the chamber that whenever parties wishes to put question to the witness concerning any particular document, it would be ideal to have it projected on the screen. The President, witness, have you found the portion of the documents you are being referred to? Response. I'm sorry, President, I haven't seen any highlighted part on this document, so I cannot find it. The President, the defense counsel, please be precise on the part of the document you want the witness to respond to, because this document is long and it might be difficult for the witness to locate the part you are referring to.
Can I have the document for a little moment so that I can make sure that the passage has been properly underlined?
The President, court officer, please. Please remove the document from the witness and bring it to the defense counsel so that he can underline or highlight part of the document which he wishes to discuss.
En fait, il l'était déjà, Monsieur le Président.
In fact, the passage was already highlighted, Mr. President.
Est-ce que vous avez le...
Do you see the excerpt in question, witness?
Prenez le temps de le lire.
Please take your time to read it.
ជំរាបប្រសាលោកប្រធានខ្ញុំបានឃើញ
Response.
កំណត់ដែល
Mr. President, I have found the portion which I am asked to comment on, and I would like to read it as follows.
ខ្ញុំសូមលោកមេធាវីភ្ជាប់ឃ្លាមកកំណត់ទៅខាងលើ
And I would like the defense counsel to link this portion with another portion above this particular passage so that it links the story well.
បើលោកលុបឃ្លាខាងដើមហ្នឹងនៃទៅផ្សេងណាឥឡូវខ្ញុំសូមព្រាម
If you ignore the preceding passage, then the meanings would be vastly different.
នៅលើអេក្រង់លោកអត់ភ្ជាប់ឲ្យខ្ញុំទេដើម្បីសាធារណជនលោកឃើញ
And I insist that the defense counsel links to the preceding passage so that the public at large can view it.
Écoutez, moi, personnellement...
Well, I presented the document to you because this was requested to me by the prosecutor, and if I have to read out the entire document, I'll never be able to finish my examination. I made a proposition to you. You told me that you didn't remember your statements, and I'm giving the document to you. There's a segment that I underlined in which you say that, according to me, if Kusampon had been invited to attend the meeting during which Chuchet's arrest had been decided, it was not to participate in the decision-making process, but only to be informed of the purging process. And what I'm interested in is the reason for this summons. The court will be able to understand the rest of the statement. I only questioned you on the specific passage, and that's all. Now I have refreshed your memory, so do you remember having said what is highlighted, yes or no? I'm not asking you to give me a full analysis. I'm asking you only if you remember having said this.
The President, I think there might be a confusion in the two languages because in Khmer, when it is highlighted in the English portion, it was not complete in the whole paragraph. So I think that we should highlight a complete portion of that so that it can be understood, at least in Khmer language. It has to be a complete sentence. Response. I would like to read out the passage in this statement. Thus, in my opinion, if Khieu Samphan was invited to attend the meeting during which the arrest of Chuchet was decided, it was not to participate in the decision, but to be informed of the purge process.
Merci.
Thank you for reading this out, witness. And I would like you now to tell us what you meant that day when you used the expression, according to me. So what you just read, does it correspond to the information that you claim was given to you by Pong, or is this your later interpretation that you are sharing with the judges that day?
Response. This is my opinion, and it was my opinion on the role of Khieu Samphan back then.
In the conversation you claim you had with Pong, did Pong explain to you why Von Vet had been cast aside?
De la réunion dont nous parlons.
It had not been included in the meeting that we're speaking about, of course.
Response. Von Vet was cast aside because, according to Pong, Von Vet was a difficult person to work with. According to Pong's explanation, Von Vet on several occasions opposed against the party concerning the identification of enemy.
Nous savons.
We know that Von Vet was arrested or will be arrested at the beginning of November of the same year, and the fact of having challenged before the meeting regarding Chu Shet, having opposed the party, did this put him in a touchy position? Did this explain why he was being monitored?
I think the defense may, based on the translation, which diverged somewhat from my original words, to form another question. The President's. The defense counsel, please hold on. The witness needed to clarify his answer because he said that the translation into French and English were not correct from what he said. So, and I also advise the interpreters to be extra careful in rendering his statement.
Can you please repeat again why Von Vet had been excluded from the meeting regarding Chu Chet's arrest?
Response. Pong explained me in general terms that Von Vet was a difficult person to work with. So whenever he did not like it, he would isolate himself and then he expressed his dissatisfaction. So consequently, when the matter was concerning with Won Wait, Brother Paul made it clear that Won Wait would not be invited.
Not being invited to a meeting where decisions were taken was a way of excluding someone during the regime, wasn't it?
Response. The measures taken by Brother Paul surprised me. Because Brother Won was a member of the standing committee. Brother Ham was not a member of the standing committee.
Peut-on dire
May one say that from the standpoint of the prevailing system, excluding Bornvet from the meeting amounted to a sanction?
Response. I dare not make any conclusion out of this, but I simply want to mention that this was an extraordinary situation which surprised me.
Vous souvenez-vous
Do you remember what you said to the investigating judge? Or rather, do you remember the last time you saw Won Wet?
Response. I last saw Won Wait on the 3rd of November 1978.
Ça, c'était lorsqu'il était...
And that was when he was already a prisoner. Is that correct, witness?
Could you please repeat your question? I cannot catch it.
J'ai posé une question, c'est de ma faute. J'ai posé une question.
I apologize for my question not being sufficiently precise. What I wanted to ask you was, before he was arrested, did Von Vet come to S21?
Thank you. When there was an order to arrest Pong, Brother Nguyen told Won Wait to meet me. Correction interpreters, when there was an order to arrest Won Wait, I'm sorry, Your Honor, could you please ask the witness to repeat his answer?
C'est une petite difficulté au niveau de la traduction.
Yes, I think we have a small difficulty with the translation, says the defense lawyer.
I would like to repeat my answer. When Pong was arrested, Brother Nguyen asked Brother Won to meet me, and he sent along with him a letter designating him to work with me.
Qui devait travailler avec qui dans cette lettre?
The letter said who should work with who?
គឺឲ្យខ្ញុំធ្វើការជាមួយបងប្អូន
The letter indicated that I was supposed to work with Brother Won, and once again I would like to emphasize that without this letter, I would not be given any right to work with Bong Won.
Au regard du fait que
Given the fact that Pong's arrest occurred 2 months after Cho Chet's, and bearing in mind what you have just said, that Won Wet came to work with you when Pong was arrested, don't you agree that the information that Pong would have sent is supposed to have sent to you on the fact that Von Vet at the time was in the spotlight and being excluded from the decision-making process all the more extraordinary?
ជំរាបប្រសាទលោកប្រធាន
Response. I think we should look at the dates of the events when they unfolded. Brother Wayne was cast aside from the meeting of the Standing Committee. It was not clear to me whether or not he was cast aside on several occasions. But what was clear to me was that when Bong Won came in before Brother Pum was arrested.
ដូច្នេះរឿងអីក៏ដោយមុននឹងបាក់សម្រាប់ចាប់ខាងលើដែលបាក់ចិត្តតាំងមកត្រូវតែគោរពត្រូវតែរាយការណ៍ឲ្យស្មោះត្រង់ត្រូវតែធ្វើការជាមួយ
Therefore, before any arrest decision was executed, then the lower echelon would have to report in good faith to the upper echelon. The President, the time is now break. It's appropriate to take a lunch break. The court will adjourn until 1:30 this afternoon. I note that the Defense Counsel for Nuon Chea is on his feet. Again, the court will resume at 1:30, and security guards are instructed to bring the witness to the waiting room for the witness and bring him back to this courtroom before 1:30 this afternoon. The counsel is on his feet. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. My client would prefer to follow the remainder of the proceedings from the holding cell downstairs. Because of his poor health, I have the appropriate or the necessary waivers here to hand over to the court officer.
The President. Thank you, the Defense Counsel. Please be seated. Having heard the request by Mr. Nuon Chea through his Defense Counsel, expressing his waiver of his right to be present directly in this courtroom, but instead to follow the proceeding from the holding cell downstairs for the rest of the day due to his health concern. The Chamber grants the request through the defense counsel that Mr. Nguyen Chia would follow the proceeding by video linked from the holding cell downstairs this afternoon, and he has expressed his waiver of rights to follow the proceeding directly in the courtroom. The chamber requires the defense counsel to submit the chamber the letters of waiver with the thumbprint and signature of the accused. AV technicians are instructed to connect the video linked to the accused Nguyen Chia so that he can follow the proceeding for the rest of the day. And security guards are instructed to bring Mr. Nguyen Chia and Mr. Khieu Sampon to the holding cell downstairs. And this afternoon, please bring only Mr. Khieu Sampon back to this courtroom before 1:30. The court is adjourned.